Hi, and welcome to my TED Talk. My name is Salman, and today I'll be talking about renewable energy resources. It's 2014, and I think it's time we had the talk, because things are a lot different than they used to be 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50, and even 100 years ago, specifically when it comes to our methods of generating electricity. The population of the world 20 years ago was 5.6 billion, and today in 2014, it's 7.2 billion. That's an increase of 80 million people a year for the past 20 years, and it's growing in that direction. You know what that means? How are we going to meet the demands of this growing population, but moreover, the extra demands due to the modern lifestyle that 2014 brings? Obviously, the simplest way to deliver all this electricity is to do the easiest and most quick way. Burn fossil fuels. They provide tremendous amounts of energy very cheap, reliably, and quickly. This sounds like the best of both worlds, but there has to be a catch. Cheap and reliable? It's pretty obvious that burning fossil fuels has a huge negative impact on our environment, which in result affects our quality of life on Earth. This is something that's been noticed by leaders of society, and as a result, power generation companies are forced to minimize their use of fossil fuels and ultimately stop them. So, where do we turn? We got solar farms and wind turbines. I want to talk about those today. Let's get to the facts. If this was a few years ago, I would let a statement like solar panels are significantly more expensive than fossil fuels slide. But with the rapid advancements that technology that comprises of solar panels, we can clearly see that the dollars per megawatt per hour of electricity produced through solar power decreased by 78% in the last 5 years. The same goes for electricity generated from wind. So it's time we get rid of that stereotype or that notion that these renewable energy resources are very expensive alternatives, when clearly they're not. Keeping in mind that burning coal produces about 820 grams of CO2 in the air for every kilowatt hour of power, as opposed to solar, which is at 48, and wind generation at 12. 820, 48, 12. I'll let you do the comparisons. So with the visible effects of global warming already present due to all these sources of electricity generation that we use, the government, although a little late in my opinion, has made the right steps to ensure limiting the use of fossil fuels in countries such as Canada, America, Europe, as well as parts of Asia. So what exactly is the problem here if alternative renewable sources are so clean and cheap? Well, there's a few, but one of the big ones I want to touch upon is that we currently have no technology to store that power. We have to remember that the grid is set up in a way so that the load needed and the energy provided have to be equal at all times. So that's the way the grid is set up. So for example, if the sun is out only throughout part of the day, solar panels will work great. However, at nighttime, what happens? We have no way to store that energy. But this industry has made significant changes, and engineers like Donald Sadoway, who are currently working on a battery which is cheap, efficient, enough to store this power for later use. As for wind power, it's very difficult to predict the patterns of wind, and so until we have a solid way to measure it and predict it, wind generation may not be so reliable. This industry of renewable energy has come a long way, and to conclude, I want to say it is the future to creating a sustainable environment and to keeping a healthy planet Earth for the generations to come. Thank you.